First contact and discovery. The observation deck of the Xeraxian scout vessel Eternal Vigilance was unnaturally quiet as Captain Nexval studied the holographic projection at the center of the chamber. The unknown ship had appeared at the edge of their territory 3 rotation cycles ago, and still no one could make sense of the readings. "Magnify Sector 4, Nexval ordered, his 4 slender arms maintaining perfect stillness despite his growing concern. The hologram zoomed in, revealing the angular metallic vessel that defied Xeraxian understanding. Chief Science Officer Telezenk's approach, her translucent exoskeleton pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that betrayed her agitation. "Captain, we've completed the 3rd scan sequence. The results remain troubling." "Explain," Nexval commanded, his voice a carefully modulated harmonic designed to project calm authority. Telezenks gestured with her upper limbs, and the hologram transformed to display a cross-section of the alien vessel. The ship maintains an internal atmosphere that should be lethal. High concentrations of corrosive oxygen, nitrogen, and trace gases that would dissolve our respiratory membranes in seconds. "Perhaps they're wearing protective suits," Security Director Krev Dahl suggested from his position at the tactical station. "No," Telezenks replied, her color patterns shifting to indicate scientific certainty. "We've detected the biological signatures of the crew. They're breathing this caustic mixture naturally. Their bodies are primarily composed of water with carbon-based cellular structures." "Water carriers," whispered one of the junior officers, using an old Xeraxian term for mythological demons. Nexval's sensory tendrils quivered slightly. "What about their technology?" "Weapons assessment." Krev Dahl manipulated his console, bringing up new data. "Their propulsion system uses controlled nuclear fusion, Captain. The radiation levels inside their engine compartments would kill any Xeraxian within minutes, yet our scans show crew members performing maintenance in those areas with minimal protection." "That's impossible," Nexval stated. "There's more," Telezenks continued. "Their bodies contain metals, not just trace elements, but significant concentrations of iron carried in their circulatory fluid. They use this iron to transport oxygen throughout their systems. They carry the very element that would poison us," Krev Dahl said, his security training failing to conceal this horror. The communications officer interrupted. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the alien vessel. They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies using mathematical sequences, a first contact protocol." Nexval straightened his posture. "Put it through." The hologram shifted, and for the first time, the Xeraxians beheld a human. The creature had a flat face with 2 forward-facing eyes, no protective exoskeleton, and was covered in a form-fitting uniform. Even through the translation matrix, the casual confidence in its posture was unsettling. "This is Captain Elena Reyes of the United Earth Ship Frontier. We come in peace, seeking diplomatic relations. We detected your scans and wish to establish communication." The bridge remained silent as the translation finished. Nexval composed himself. "This is Captain Nexval of the Xeraxian Exploration Guild. We apologize for scanning your vessel without permission." The human's face moved in what the computer later identified as a smile, a non-threatening expression. "No offense taken, Captain Nexval. First contact protocols often involve caution. We're prepared to share cultural and technical information at your comfort level." Krev Dahl whispered from his station. "Captain, their weapons systems are active but not targeting us. They maintain combat readiness even during peaceful encounters." Nexval acknowledged with a subtle movement of his sensory tendrils. "Captain Rice, we would be honored to exchange information. However, our scans indicate your life support systems maintain conditions that would be harmful to my species." "We anticipated biological differences," Rice responded. "We have adaptable meeting chambers for various atmospheres, or we could arrange a virtual conference if you prefer." As the conversation continued, Telezenks quietly ordered deeper scans. What the Xeraxians would discover about these humans would challenge everything they understood about life in the universe. In the primary laboratory aboard the Eternal Vigilance, Telezenks analyzed the mounting data about the human vessel and its crew. Junior scientist Vex Loreth stood nearby, his color patterns fluctuating between curiosity and distress. "These readings violate multiple biological principles," Vex Loreth said, gesturing to a particular data stream. "Their cellular structures should break down under these conditions." "Yet they don't," Telezenks replied. "Instead, they thrive. Look at this. They consume solid organic matter, breaking it down with internal acids. Their bodies contain trillions of microbial organisms that live inside them symbiotically." Deliberate infection. Vex Loreth's patterns shifted to disgust. "They call it a microbiome," Telezenks corrected. "These organisms assist with digestion and immune function." Captain Nexvel entered the laboratory, his movements precise. "Tell me what you found, Chief Science Officer." Telezenks displayed a holographic model of human anatomy. "Captain, these beings are walking contradictions. Their exterior appears fragile. No exoskeleton. Exposed sensory organs, soft tissue covering. Yet they've built one of the most advanced warships we've ever encountered. Their biological structure shouldn't work," Vex Loreth added. "They require constant liquid intake, maintain elevated internal temperatures, and their atmospheric requirements include gases that would corrode Xeraxian tissues." Nexval studied the display. Could their technology compensate for these biological weaknesses? "That's just it, Captain," Telezenks said, pulling up new data. "Look at their medical records. They can survive extreme trauma. They have procedures for replacing damaged organs and limbs. They can suffer injuries that would be fatal to a Xeraxian, and not only survive but recover completely." Security Director Krev Dahl joined them, adding, "Their ship design reflects this resilience. Minimal shielding by our standards, but multiple redundant systems. It's built to sustain significant damage and remain operational." "What about their weapons?" Nexval asked. "Formidable," Krev Dahl replied. "But what concerns me more is their history. The cultural database they shared includes thousands of years of warfare against each other. They've been fighting and killing their own kind in increasingly sophisticated ways throughout their development." Nexval's color patterns darkened. "You're suggesting they're inherently violent." "I'm suggesting they're survivors," Telezenks interjected. "Their home planet tried to kill them with predators, diseases, radiation, extreme weather, and they adapted. Not through gradual evolution like our species, but through technological innovation and sheer determination." The communications officer's voice came through the speaker system. "Captain, the human representatives request a meeting. They've offered to host us aboard their vessel in an environment modified to our requirements." Nexval looked at his officers. Telezenks spoke first. "I recommend we accept. We need to understand these humans better." "Prepare an environmental protection team," Nexval ordered. "Full biohazard protocols. I want to see these humans in their natural habitat." Captain Alina Rice adjusted her dress uniform before entering the Frontier's specially prepared diplomatic chamber. First contact with an alien civilization was the culmination of her 20-year career in the United Earth Space Command, and despite her extensive training, she felt the weight of historical significance. "Commander Chen, are our guests' accommodations ready?" she asked her executive officer. "Yes, Captain," Chen replied. "Environmental systems are set to their specifications. Methane-rich atmosphere, pressure at 1.8 times our standard, and temperature lowered to what they consider comfortable. Translation matrices have been updated with the language packet they sent. The ship's intercom activated. Captain, the Xeraxian shuttle is approaching our docking bay." "Acknowledged. We're on our way." Rise nodded to Chen and the small reception committee. "Remember, no sudden movements. Their biology makes them naturally more cautious than we are." The Frontier's docking bay dwarfed the elegant, almost organic-looking Xeraxian shuttle that glided through the energy barrier. A sealed corridor extended to connect with the shuttle's airlock. Through transparent sections, Reyes could see the Xeraxian delegates in what appeared to be full environmental suits, their insectoid forms moving with deliberate grace. The inner airlock opened, and 5 Xeraxians entered the human ship, their protective suits transparent enough to reveal iridescent exoskeletons in various shades of blue and green. Multiple limbs moved in careful coordination as compound eyes surveyed the reception area. Captain Nexval stepped forward, distinguishable by the markings on his suit. "Captain Reyes, I thank you for accommodating our biological requirements." Reyes performed the gesture of respect the Xeraxians had included in their cultural briefing, a specific configuration of hands representing peaceful intentions. "Welcome aboard the Frontier, Captain Nexval. We're honored to host this historic meeting." As the Xeraxian delegation followed Reyes through the ship's corridors toward the conference room, she noticed how their attention lingered on various features, particularly the crew members they passed going about their normal duties. "Your people move very quickly," Nexval observed, his translated voice carrying a hint of unease. "Do we?" Reyes hadn't considered this. "I suppose that's our natural pace. We can slow down if it's uncomfortable." "No need," Nexval replied. "We are here to learn about your species, as you are to learn about ours." The conference room had been divided by a transparent barrier, allowing face-to-face conversation while maintaining separate atmospheric conditions. As both delegations settled into their respective sides, Science Officer Dr. Maya Patel began the prepared presentation on human biology and culture. "We understand our physiologies are quite different," she began. "Humans evolved on a planet with higher gravity than you're accustomed to, which partly explains our denser musculature and internal skeletal structure." The Xeraxian scientist Telezanx leaned forward, her antenna visibly twitching even through her helmet. "Your species consumes solid organic matter directly without pre-processing." Dr. Patel smiled. "Yes, though we cook much of our food. Apply heat to break down certain proteins and kill potential pathogens." "Pathogens?" another Xeraxian asked, the translator struggling briefly with the concept. "Harmful microorganisms," Dr. Patel explained. "Our bodies constantly fight off invasive life forms." The Xeraxian delegates exchanged looks that even humans could interpret as alarm. Engineering Chief Rodriguez, who had been quietly observing, added, "Our immune systems are always at war. It's just part of being human." Captain Nexval's posture shifted subtly. "And your ship, these weapon systems we detected." "Standard defensive capabilities," Captain Reyes interjected smoothly. "We've encountered some hostile environments during our exploration." "I see," Nexval responded, though his tone suggested he saw far more than Reyes had intended to reveal. As the meeting continued, Telezanx discreetly activated additional scanning devices concealed within her environmental suit. The more she learned about these humans, the more she believed the Xeraxian Council needed to understand exactly what kind of species they had encountered and what their arrival might mean for the future of the galaxy. Understanding and implications. Captain Nexval paced the confined space of his private quarters aboard the Eternal Vigilance, the data Telezanx had gathered during their visit to the human ship displayed across multiple screens. Each new finding was more disturbing than the last. "You're certain these findings are accurate?" Nexval asked, stopping to examine a particular image of human cellular structure. Telezanx stood rigidly, her normally vibrant color patterns subdued with concern. "I verified everything 3 times, Captain. The humans are not just unusual. They are extraordinary in ways that defy our understanding of biological limitations." The door chimed, and Security Director Krevdal entered, carrying additional reports. "The tactical analysis of their ship is complete," he announced, placing a data crystal on Nexval's desk. "Report," Nexval commanded. "Their warship is designed to sustain massive damage and continue functioning. Multiple redundant systems, compartmentalization that would allow them to lose entire sections without compromising the whole vessel." Krevdal's voice grew quieter. "And their weapons, They're designed to penetrate shields like ours in ways our simulations suggest would be catastrophic. Telezenks moved to the central display and brought up new images. But that's nothing compared to what we discovered about their biology, Captain. Humans are endurance predators. Explain, Nexval demanded. On their homeworld, before they developed technology, they hunted by exhausting their prey. They would pursue animals until the creatures collapsed from fatigue. Telezenks displayed footage the humans had shared of their ancient hunting practices. They can regulate their body temperature through sweating, expelling water through their skin. This allows them to run for hours without overheating. Krevdal clicked his mandibles in disbelief. No sentient species hunts this way. Humans do, Telezenks continued. And there's more. Their medical records show they can survive radiation levels that would kill a Xeraxian instantly. Their cellular repair mechanisms are extraordinarily efficient. Nexval studied the displays with growing concern. Could this explain the relative lack of protection on their ship? Yes, Telezenks confirmed. What we consider minimal shielding is adequate for them. Their acceptable exposure thresholds are orders of magnitude higher than ours. Krevdal added grimly. Their combat training includes techniques for fighting while injured. They have medical procedures for continuing battle after sustaining damage that would incapacitate any of our warriors. Telezenks brought up the most disturbing images yet: human surgical procedures. They routinely allow themselves to be cut open, Captain. They remove damaged organs and replace them. They transfuse blood from one individual to another. They even have artificial limbs that interface directly with their nervous systems. Nexval's sensory tendrils flattened against his head. How could such practices evolve naturally? They didn't, Telezenks said simply. Humans adapted. Their planet tried to kill them with predators, disease, radiation, extreme weather. And they survived it all. Not through natural selection over millions of years like our species, but through sheer determination and technological innovation over mere thousands. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Finally, Nexval spoke. The ship's armor. It's not just to protect them from outside threats, is it? Telezenks's compound eyes reflected the dim light of the cabin. No, Captain. I believe it's to protect the universe from them. The next diplomatic meeting took place aboard the Eternal Vigilance in a chamber specially modified for human visitors. Captain Rice and her team wore lightweight environmental suits as a courtesy, though their scans had confirmed they could tolerate the Xeraxian atmosphere for short periods. Your ship is quite beautiful, Rice commented, admiring the organic architecture that characterized Xeraxian design. The integration of biological and mechanical systems is remarkable. Thank you, Nexval replied. We find your vessel equally fascinating, though for different reasons. The meeting proceeded with exchanges of scientific and cultural information, but Ray sensed an undercurrent of tension. The Xeraxians seemed particularly interested in human medical practices, warfare history, and survival capabilities. During a scheduled break, Commander Chen approached Reyes privately. Captain, I think they're afraid of us. Why do you say that? Reyes asked. The questions they're asking, the way they react when we discuss our adaptive abilities or military history, they're assessing us as a threat. Before Reyes could respond, the ship's alarm system activated. Nexval's color patterns shifted to emergency indicators as a subordinate rushed into the chamber. Captain, we're detecting a gravitational anomaly approaching at high velocity. Impact imminent. The ship shuddered violently as something struck it. Emergency containment fields activated, but the diplomatic chamber's environmental systems fluctuated wildly. Breach in sectors 7 through 9, reported a Xeraxian officer. Atmospheric integrity compromised in multiple compartments. Nexval turned to the humans. We need to evacuate you to your shuttle. Our atmosphere will become increasingly toxic to you as the environmental controls fail. Captain Rice assessed the situation quickly. We can help. Commander Chen, contact the Frontier and have them prepare emergency response teams. Dr. Patel, what about the radiation leaked from their propulsion system? Dr. Patel checked her scanner. Elevated levels, Captain, but within our short-term exposure limits. Then we stay and help, Rice decided. She turned to Nexval. Captain, your crew is at risk from radiation exposure. Our people can access areas that would be lethal to Zeraxians. Nexval hesitated, his color patterns revealing his internal conflict. Krevdal interjected. Captain, we cannot allow. They're right, Telezanx interrupted. The humans can withstand conditions we cannot. This is not the time for distrust. After a moment of consideration, Nexval nodded. We accept your assistance, Captain Reyes. The next hours revealed the truth of the scientific findings. Human crew members entered radiation-flooded compartments to repair critical systems, while Zeraxian engineers guided them remotely. When a structural collapse trapped 3 Zeraxian crew members, Commander Chen and 2 human engineers lifted debris that would have required mechanical assistance for the Zeraxians. In the ship's medical bay, Dr. Patel worked alongside Zeraxian medical officers, her human dexterity and experience with trauma medicine proving invaluable as they treated the injured. When the crisis was finally contained, Captain Nexval found Rise in a monitoring station, coordinating the remaining repair efforts. Your crew has performed remarkably, Nexval said, his translator struggling to convey the appropriate tone. Just doing what humans do best, adapting to challenges, Rise replied. That is precisely what concerns us, Nexval admitted. Your species possesses capabilities that my advisors consider potentially dangerous. You breathe corrosive gases, withstand radiation, endure physical trauma, and have a history of warfare that spans your entire civilization. Reyes nodded slowly. I understand your concern. From your perspective, we must seem almost designed for warfare. But consider this, the same traits that make us formidable opponents also make us valuable allies. Explain, Nexval requested, unconsciously using the same command tone he employed with his officers. The universe is full of dangers, Captain, Ray said. Environments hostile to life, natural disasters, resource scarcity. Humans don't just survive these challenges. We thrive on them. We push boundaries and solve problems precisely because we evolved under such difficult conditions. Telezanx joined them, her color patterns showing signs of fatigue, but also something new. A pattern the translation matrix identified as intellectual curiosity. Your resilience is undeniable, she acknowledged. What has been most unexpected is your willingness to risk your safety for others not of your kind. That's also part of being human, Rise explained. Our capacity for compassion evolved alongside our capacity for violence. We protect our own, yes, but we can extend that protection to others we consider allies or friends. Nexval's sensory tendrils moved in a pattern Reyes hadn't seen before. Perhaps we have been too focused on the potential threat you represent rather than the potential benefit of cooperation. That's understandable, Reyes said. First contact between species is always fraught with uncertainty, but today has shown what we can accomplish together. Later, as the human delegation prepared to return to their ship, Telezanx approached Dr. Patel privately. I have a scientific hypothesis I wish to share, she said, her color patterns indicating scholarly excitement. Perhaps what makes humans so adaptable is not just your physical resilience, but your cognitive flexibility. You see solutions where we see only problems. Dr. Patel smiled. And you see patterns and connections we might miss. Different evolutionary paths, different strengths. A complementary relationship, Telezanx suggested. Exactly, Patel agreed. The universe is vast and full of unknowns. We'll all need every advantage we can get. As the human shuttle departed the Eternal Vigilance, Captain Nexval received the preliminary report on the gravitational anomaly that had damaged their ship. It wasn't a natural phenomenon, but the fringes of a weapons test conducted by the Dracovar Imperium, an expansionist power from a neighboring sector. The Dracovar have been encroaching on guild territory for years, Krevdal noted. They consider other species as resources to be harvested or obstacles to be removed. Nexval studied the tactical display thoughtfully. Contact Captain Reyes. I believe the Xeraxian Exploration Guild and the United Earth Command need to discuss the wider political landscape of this region of space. You're proposing an alliance? Krevdal asked, his color patterns showing surprise. I'm proposing a conversation, Nexval replied. But yes, an alliance may be beneficial. The Dracovar have never encountered humans before. His sensory tendrils rippled with what might have been the Xeraxian equivalent of amusement. I suspect they are unprepared for what that encounter will entail. As the Frontier and the Eternal Vigilance set course for a joint mission to the nearest Xeraxian outpost, the two captains began drafting a preliminary cooperation agreement. The document's preamble, composed by Telezinx and Dr. Patel, stated, "In recognition that diversity, biological, technological, and philosophical, represents not a threat, but the greatest resource in our shared exploration of the universe. What had begun with fear and suspicion was transforming into something neither species had anticipated, a partnership that would ultimately reshape the power dynamics of an entire galactic sector, proving that sometimes the most terrifying discovery can become the most valuable ally."